Take my hand and we will go there. Anybody can.
So you've got an album coming out in February called Nature Child. So from my understanding, it's kind of a concept record, and I've been listening to it. So tell us a little bit about the concept behind it, if you can.
Well, the concept, the subtitle is A Dreamer's Journey. And so the songs on the record all kind of have a central theme of leading you into the dream world of your imagination.
Okay.
That's kind of encapsulates kind of a general theme, but each song explores various aspects of that and of dreaming. And it is a concept record in that you start from the beginning all the way through and you feel like you have gone on a journey, but yet each song really stands on its own by itself,
Right.
but it does lead you on a journey. So I suggest that people listen to it in one sitting when they can be quiet, but it can be on in the background too. It's, either one.
Right. So you recorded it in Nashville. What kind of studio, what kind of environment were you working with when you made the record?
Yes. I did record it here in Nashville. My friend John Mock has an incredible studio that has state-of-the-art equipment, and we recorded it at his studio. It took us we worked on it from start to finish 3 years.
Ooh, man.
including the design of the record cover. Now, there are other musicians playing on it. John Mock is just really a master musician,
Right.
and recorded it, he mixed it, and a man named Bob Katz down in Florida, who's just an incredible mastering engineer, mastered it. So we took our time because, well, we started in 19, and then early to 2020 is when COVID hit.
Right.
And so short break of a few weeks till we all got vaccinated and
Yeah.
and felt working closely in the studio. But even still, when we were in the control room, we wore masks and tried to be as careful as possible. And we both made it through without being ill. And we brought musicians in very safely through it was done very safely, and everybody was fine. But it was quite a journey. It was a dreamer's journey for me.
Right. So tell me a little bit about that journey. I mean, with all that stuff happening around you with COVID and I'm sure other things were going on in Nashville as well, how much does that affect what we hear on the record?
Well, I think it's an interesting thing that happened in that I felt like John and I got into this kind of little cocoon of creativity and stayed there with the music. 6 of the songs were written between 1988. Oh, by the way, that's my dog, Kate. You'll see her in the background every now and then.
I just saw her.
Uh, 6 of the songs, half of the album was written between 1988 and 1990.
Oh, okay.
And I'll kind of regress and then go back to what you asked me.
Sure.
Because in those years, I had just gotten off the road from touring full time.
Right.
Doing maybe 250 days a year on the road and had a band and a bus. I took a break from the big touring. I continued to do performing, but on a smaller scale and a little bit less, so that I could really devote some time to songwriting. And the reason these 6 songs were written way back then is when I got off the road, I realized that I felt this kind of pang in my heart that all these little kids would show up at my show, which was not anything we dreamed would happen.
Right.
But kids loved my music and were drawn to it. But I had this sense of, I wish I had music to sing and play for them that had messages that I'd really want to say to kids.
Right.
So that was the inspiration for writing these first 6 songs. Then life happened.
Right. Yeah, as it does.
Over time, I kept planning to record the project and write some more songs. And Craig Bickhart and I wrote one of the songs on this record called "If I Only Had Wings" in the '90s.
Uh-huh.
And then, since more recently, the rest of the album was written. In fact, 4 of the songs I wrote with John Mock during the recording of this record. So that's kind of the encapsulated it's 34 years of
Right.
dream finally coming true for me to actually be able to put this music out there and share it with these little kids that came to my show. And of course, they're grown-ups now,
Yep.
have their own, and some of their kids may have kids.
Yep. Yep.
So I think it's real important that people know that they inspired this music because of that desire I had to really share something of substance and what I would really like to share with them.
Okay. There's a couple of tracks I wanted to touch on. One that kind of musically interesting was Dancing Over an Emerald Isle, which almost obviously has kind of an Irish feel to it. So what can you tell me about that one?
Hills rolling in clover, stone walls and babbling brooks, sheep roaming the hillsides, just like in a child's book. The air sparkles with magic, and dreams find their way to the stars. One day you will live them, no matter where you are. Dreams call in a whisper, pulse like a flickering light, soft shimmering stardust, just out of your eyesight. I'll lead if you follow, she says with a wink and a smile. Come look and you'll find me dancing over an emerald isle.
It's kind of an Irish jig.
Yeah.
We've gotten about halfway into the recording process, and we were looking at that everything as a whole. We were thinking about, musically and lyrically, what does the record want now? What subject matters and what feel do we want to have? And John and I both, on my previous recordings, we both have Irish ancestry, and so among other ancestry too. I have English and Western Europe, but Ireland, Wales,
Right.
Scotland, that's a part of my DNA.
Yep.
Almost always there's that kind of sense on my records. So Dancing Over an Emerald Isle is really a metaphor for your imagination. And I believe our dreams are kind of enticing us and dancing and calling us forward in life to engage with them. And I think our gifts that we're all born with are the fuel for those dreams. So that song is a very playful, and kind of enchanting. It describes what dreams, how they feel, how they entice us in to make us want to pursue them.
Cool. And the album opens with a tune called Avalon, which has very lush strings working with it. Not the same song as Roxy Music, obviously. Why is it the lead-off track on the record?
Take my hand and we will go there. Anybody can. High upon a crystal mountain, shining like a polished diamond, stands a city few have gazed upon. They call it Avalon.
Well, the reason it's the lead off is it's very much the invitation into the journey.
Uh-huh.
And it happens to be, I think it may have been the very first song Verlin Thompson and I wrote when we got together to begin writing this album.
Right.
Way back when. And what the inspiration was, actually how it started and why the name Avalon, is the night before we got together to write, I had had a dream. And so I shared with Verlin this dream I'd had, and it was a really interesting kind of unusual dream. And those dreams that really stick with you, like it just kind of stayed with me until I arrived at my writing appointment with Verlin. And in the dream, I was holding a wooden clock, and I turned the clock over, and on the back, etched in the wood, was my name, and my name was Avalon.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if this is a past life memory or
Right.
what, but we got to talking about the idea of Avalon and our identity. What's our identity? And I was doing a lot of spiritual reading at that time, as I do now. And I guess we get to thinking about Avalon as kind of a metaphor for our imagination, for this essence of who we truly are, who we come into the world and to be, and who and the part of us that will leave this world. And so that became the title of the song. And everything on this record is really metaphoric.
Okay. Now, I understand that in addition to your singing and performing, you also work as a personal and professional development coach. So I was curious how that interacts and intersects with the music that we hear, how that one informs the other, vice versa.
Well, I think there's a general theme that connects everything in that I don't know if most people I think are familiar with what life coaching or
Sure.
career coaching is now. When I started doing this 20 years ago, it was like I would always be explaining what coaching was. But I think that the thread that connects them is story. Because as a coach, I'm sitting with people in presence and listening to their stories. And for thousands of years, humanity sat around campfires and told stories about their day, about what their dreams are. And that's really what I do as a singer and as a coach. I'm listening to story. As a writer, I'm listening and watching for images that waft up off of the music to write the lyric to it, write the words to it. So I think that's part of it. And there's the other key is curiosity. To be a writer, to be a performer, singer, I think to really nurture a sense of a curiosity about life is really key. And I think when I'm working with a person as I'm coaching, I'm sitting with them in curiosity about what their story is and how their story might want to change and what they think about that. Because as a coach, I don't have the answers for people, but I can ask the questions that hopefully will help them find the answers.
You ever get inspired to write after a session with somebody?
I don't know that there's a direct connection in that way,
Right.
but I think as a coach, I'm in a practice constantly of bringing curiosity to the conversation.
Gotcha.
I think as a writer, there's a similarity there too.
Speaking of curiosity, I'm curious because you were very involved with the country music scene back in '82 when Nobody was a big hit, and started out on country and moved to pop, I believe. And the country music business has kind of changed over those years. Now, I wouldn't say this is a country album, but I'm wondering from your point of view, how has it changed, better or worse? There's been some discussion about especially female artists and radio airplay and all that stuff. Do you think about that? Have you got an opinion about it?
Well, obviously, women in our culture definitely have challenges because I think traditionally it's been pretty much a male dominated, whether it's music business or almost any business you want to look at.
Right.
I think because the music business is has such a public face, it gets a lot of attention, and that's good. I mean, we need to, in my opinion, these are all things we need to be looking at as a human being, as people that if we endeavor to treat others as we would want to be treated, I think these are all things that we have to look at. In the 80s, I think it was very much, maybe even more so, an issue of trying to get started in the industry as a female.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at that time, I looked on the charts one day and I saw 3 women on the top 100.
Right.
So, it was tough. It was tough to get the attention. And when I began having record success, I remember being in a conversation with a record executive who basically said, female singers, they're going to be openers. They don't put butts in the seats. He said that to my face. And I said to him, and I remember it distinctly, I said, that will be the case as long as you believe it to be the case.
Right.
What you believe, you'll change the outcome. And I really believe that is true. So yeah, there's definitely, a consciousness raising that is going on, that wants to go on.
I bet you Dolly Parton would have something to say about that.
I'm sure she would. I didn't let it daunt me. I had such a sure feeling and knowing within myself that music was my home as far as what I do in this life, and that I would be working toward, getting a career as a recording artist on a major label. It didn't matter how long it took. I was going to keep doing it,
Right, right. And now you have your own label you've been running since the 90s, I believe, called Red Pony Records. So is that a plus or a minus? Is it harder for you being an indie artist, or would you, what are the differences between that and being on a major?
Well, I think there are specific challenges to any artist out there as an independent because you don't have that big machine
Yeah. Mhm.
calling radio, you don't have regional promotion people and all that. You're just pretty much wearing all the hats. Myself and John Mock,
Right.
we really are a team, and have been co-producing my record since 1996 together. So, but I think in recent years, I wouldn't want to be on a big record label
Yeah.
because technology, the world is so different now. I understand that artists that get deals today have to give the record label a part of their concert tickets, a part of their merchandise sales, just everything. And so from that standpoint, I would not want to be engaged in that kind of a record deal. You do have independence, but you're working around the clock almost to
Yeah. Yeah.
to make it a full-time career. Yeah.
So you mentioned concerts. Are you going to be doing gigs, shows, once the record is out?
Well, yes, and like I said earlier, I've never really quit performing. I've
Right.
always done shows along every year. But with COVID, that's
Yes.
changed. So once things, and I believe things are going to relax this year around COVID. I just read an article this morning about how people believe that it's really going to kind of decline pretty rapidly. And I intuitively, my sense is that that probably is correct. So as soon as things are safe, I'll be back out there, and I'm really eager to get out there and perform with this record. And I'll just show, this is the
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah,
I
very
know
good.
it's not going to be released. Well, there's actually, you can pre-order
Order.
the record
Yeah.
on February 9th of this year, and then on the 22nd is the actual release date. So
Right.
people can pre-order the physical CD on Amazon or Bandcamp, and I love Bandcamp too because you can
Yep.
get high resolution or high fidelity
Yep.
download of the record, and then it'll be on all digital platforms like Spotify and Tidal and all those. So
Right. So when you do start performing behind this record, what kind of show is it going to be? Is it, do you mix it up with the old stuff? Or are you kind of playing this record through?
yeah, that's a good question. I think it might be a mix of different things depending on the venue and the type of show I'm scheduled for.
Right.
I've imagined, in an afternoon doing a show that's more for families and children, and that evening doing a show that would maybe have a mix of both. And then some shows may just be more the older stuff with a little bit of the new stuff in.
Right.
And then I hope to do more intimate. I really long to be in an intimate setting with children and families, maybe telling stories. I'm actually, there's an outline in my mind of a story around all these songs. So I'm going to be in coming months writing that.
Right.
And so weaving the story in with the music and doing this music for families and children just feels like it would be ideal.
Cool. And I read somewhere that there's no videos at the moment, but some are in the works. So
Yes, one
give me a
will
little
probably.
preview of what you're working on.
Yes, we're working on Avalon as the first,
Okay.
and everybody calls these kind of videos lyric videos. We decided we're going to call it a musical storybook video.
Okay. Yeah.
There will be lyrics, but because the cover has a storybook on it, we're going to use that concept in the making of the video, where the words come and go, and use it as a framework for the videos with some little surprises here and there. So
Right.
that's what we're doing, and I think my goal is I hope we can do one on every song on the record throughout this year. Maybe we could put one out each month.
Cool. Excellent. My daughter Sylvia is calling me even as we're speaking.
Sure, I said hello. My namesake over there.
Have you ever been to New Zealand? Have you been down this part of the world?
No, and ever since I saw Lord of the Rings, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I I've longed to go to New Zealand because it's just so gorgeous there. I would really love to go there.
Very good. Well, hopefully you can make it, and hopefully the shows will go along, and you'll be able to perform in front of folks, and the record will be out and about in the end of February. So that sounds cool. So thank you for talking to me. I better talk to the other Sylvia.
Well, just in closing, I would ask people to come to my website. It's sylviamusic.com.
Great.
And
All right. We'll put the link up with the post.
great.
All righty.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a
You're
great day.